Hi and welcome everybody. Aloha and welcome to another Soul Talk here on my channel. And I'm so excited for my talk today because we have the wonderful Corby Midlight here. And she has been reading since 1973. You can see it on her, for those of you watching, you can see it on her background. She's full-time intuitive counselor and certified tarot master, a trained medium and a past life specialist. Corby is a featured channel in Robert Schwartz's breakthrough series, In Life Between Lives. Oh my God, I feel so honored to have you here, Corby. Welcome to my show.
It's good to be here, Mick.
Yes, thank you so much. I think it's so amazing, having you because I started. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in tarot, but intuitively at some point they have come to me, and I
Mhm.
love how they can help. Any kind of cards can help us so much.
Oh, they
To
tell stories.
yes,
That's the
yes,
best part.
yes. So how was it for you? Because you said you've been doing this since 1973. What happened before, and how did you find yourself? Because that's one of the things that I find so amazing. Because I think for all of us, because we are so in such a brain-based humanity we're still, we're moving out of it, but it's still very, intuition and this connection to our higher self or to to the divine
Mhm.
is still a little bit, or used to be very weird. So how did you do it in the 70s? How did that happen?
Well, when I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, which said, "Oh, there's magic in the world." I wanted to go find it. In 1973, when I was a senior in high school, that was the year Live and Let Die came out with Jane Seymour, the card reader. And Spencer Gifts had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your David Crosby fringe jacket and your deck. Now, 5 years later, everybody else moved on to roller skates and disco balls, but I loved the cards. I loved the stories they'd tell. So for about 20 years, read for friends, practiced keeping my ego out of the way. All of a sudden, the early 90s, I could do hands on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, "Hello, you're working for us." So part time with a very checkered career, actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, executive recruiter until 9/11. At which point, as we watched the towers burn, I said to my husband, "I need to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there." He said, "I believe in you, go do it." Since then, it's been 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. Big difference.
Mm. I love that so much. And it's so incredible and it's beautiful that you also, the way you're telling it is just an amazing fulfilled life, right?
Yeah, I've been lucky. It's been a roller coaster with no brakes, but I like where I am at the age of 68.
Wow. You don't look that.
Two magic words, darling, no children. And the other thing is, Zoom can be very kind. I look my age when it's, no makeup and you and I are at the grocery store. So don't get impressed.
Probably, yeah. But I have to say that I really love your white streaks because that's one of the things that, in my case, I don't know when it's going to happen because I have a mom. My mom didn't start to get gray until she was, I think, 64, probably something like that,
Mhm.
and she's still like there's not much there. And I love when I see women that, like you have it on one side and it just looks so perfect. I don't know.
Don't get impressed. Um, all of my hair pretty much looks like this now, so we have either wisdom streaks or skunk stripes, depending on who you talk to, and the rest of it is better living through chemistry. I am not ready to go gray. I'm just not. When you've never had kids, you're just the biggest kid in the room. And the fact that in 2 years I'm going to be staring 70 in the face, it's like, what the? Who screwed with my calendar? But I have to own this because at this point, yes, I'm an elder. I'm an elder.
That's true. Oh, and it's so beautiful that you're sharing your wisdom with everybody else out here. I mean, that's amazing. Ah,
We're
what, like,
supposed to. We have to teach somebody before we leave. Every single one of us. has something to teach to somebody else.
That's true.
I just happen to do it shooting my mouth off to perfect strangers on podcasts.
How did you how is that? Because that's also one of the things that I've always loved. I mean, I remember when I started, my own spiritual path, and because I started with shamanism, and then I started to go dabble with spiritism as well. So I really,
Mhm.
like the not the seances that we know from Hollywood, but sort of like a little bit into that direction. It was
Mhm.
incredible speaking to spirit. But I remember back then, like one of the first readings that I got from a shaman, that where he told me that in my case, like how everybody has their own clairvoyance type. And in
Yeah.
my case, my clairvoyance is very much about the now. So I only get information about past or future if it's necessary for the now that I'm in. So I'm always so excited when someone like you comes up and goes like, "Oh yeah, past lives, I'm there." I love that so much because you can learn so much. Like that was one of the things that I learned from the seances, because
Mhm.
one of my basically my shamanic teacher, he showed us, how to, create a space where you would sort of like clean the spirits that were hung here. So they would tell
Mhm.
you about when they lived, and that was a little bit sort of like going into past lives.
Well,
How did
the
that
important thing about past lives, the reason we don't remember them is because we shouldn't relive them. If you are a janitor in Des Moines, Iowa, and all of a sudden you found out that you were Napoleon Bonaparte, you really want to keep mucking with a mop? No. So if you have an obsession, a phobia, something that makes no sense to you in your life, and you think past lives may have an answer, that's when you go
Mm,
and check them out. And you will only be given the past life that is relevant to what you're wrestling with. That's when they're useful.
yeah. Oh, I love that so much. So if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to know about my past lives," you always ask why, right? So to have a good why.
Yes. Do you have an obsession, a phobia, a person, or a place that means a lot to you you don't understand?
Mm,
But just to say, oh, just tell me. No, I'm not an entertainment venue. I'm
mm.
not. Um, and don't come up to me and say, oh, I know I must have been Anne Boleyn because I can't wear turtlenecks. Do you know how often I've heard that?
That was another thing that I wanted, because sometimes when you're in this field, you hear of so many people that have been
Oi,
kings, that have been,
oi.
queens, and that have been everything, and it feels I mean, it's okay if every now and then there will be someone, but when you have so many
Yeah,
people, thank you.
you know, um, I have only had about three people that were well known, famous in my doing past life work, and they're not like George Washington or King Henry or whatever. One of them was Mercy Otis Warren, who was best friends with Abigail Adams and one of the intellectual women of the Revolutionary War.
Mm,
One of them was Nellie Bly, who was at the beginning of the 20th century an investigative reporter. And I had never seen the woman, but she looked very much like Nellie. We
oh,
matched
wow.
pictures. And a woman who loved black and white photography who turned out to be Jacob Riis, Riis. And he is someone, if you've ever seen those turn of the 20th century black and white photographs of the slums of New York, that
Mm,
was Jacob Riis. And this person had brought that love of black and white photography from that life into this one. But you see, they have something to do with the life now. It
yeah.
wasn't a matter of tell me I was somebody famous. Really, really. I know I was Cleopatra. Doors over there. I'm sorry. Look, May, you're going to laugh. I have done stand up comedy about you think a psychic's life is easy because of things that happen like this, you know. So I tell people I take my work seriously. Me, not so much.
I love that so much. And you're so this really resonates with me so much, because it just confirms this. I think it's so important. It has helped me. Like I said, in my case, whenever it was necessary, I was shown things from my past, and it has been incredible in all sorts of ways to really see myself. Okay, what was happening? Like you said, I didn't have to relive the whole situation, but just knowing. Okay, so You know, I know that there was a situation where I drowned in the ocean, and that's why I always had this fear of the ocean. And because of
Yes.
this, now I worked through all that, and there
Hmm.
have been so many wonderful. I have this weird connection because you said also just weird connections to something. I have this
Hmm.
very weird connection to the Nazca lines in Peru, and I actually talked to my shamanic teacher about this. So we were, looking
Hmm.
into this together, and we basically found out that there were what do you call them again? Like hot air balloons that they used. I don't know if you know the Nazca lines in Peru that are drawn into the sand a little bit.
They're like ley lines.
Yeah, no, they're
Okay.
actually like drawings in the middle of the
Oh, like
in
the
the desert.
mysterious cornfield things
Yes,
that people
except
see.
those are
Okay, got it.
2,500 years old. And the incredible thing is that they're situated in a way that the wind has always cleaned them out, so they're still there in spite of
Hmm.
them being in the middle of a desert. So that's that. I don't know why I have this, but anyhow, so we in one of our journeys we found out that they had hot air balloons to fly over them to
Hmm.
architect those lines, and I was one of those architects that was doing that, and it's so beautiful to use that, like you said, to use that to support the here and now, to
Hmm.
create this and to create healing for yourself. It's amazing.
Yes, that's their purpose.
So like because you mentioned you do the readings, have you thought about, like, do you also teach tarot reading?
Ish. When I say ish, it's I don't have formal classes. My friend Pat Dumas, who's a fabulous astrologer, she has something called Tarot 365. It's a full year course. I teach bits and pieces. I have a course called Decadance, which is how to pick up any non-tarot deck and read it within 30 seconds.
Mhm.
That's great for people who say, I don't have intuition. Oh, yes, you do. And I'll show you. As far as tarot goes, I will do seminars. When I work with my Patreon people, we'll do deep dish tarot, which is where we'll take one or two or three cards and we will really pull them apart. What's that mean? What's that mean? Okay, here's the situation. You pull that card. What are you going to pull from it? But it's not a formal course per se. Um, I read the way my spirit taught me. The kids will read the way they get taught. But one of the reasons I really like the oracle cards is because there are so many rules and regs with tarot that people who want to start out learning it are. But you pick up, you know, my Ganesh deck right there. It's a beautiful, wonderful, compassionate deck, but there are no rules.
Mm.
One of the things when I get a new oracle deck is I just sit and I look at the cards and I talk to them and I ask them, what would you like to specialize in? Why did I pick you up? And do you have a spread for me? They always do. For instance, Ganesh, Hindu Lord of Obstacles, very compassionate. And the six cards that I was told to pull as a spread, the first card is the core of the situation the person's asking me about. Second thing is what blocks them from getting it done or working on it. Then there is what they have inside them that's useful. Then there is an ally that Ganesh is sending him. The next card is called Don't Be Fooled. You may think this quality is going to help you, but here it will not. Go here instead. So that was just the six card spread that the deck taught me, and it always works with that deck.
Mm.
When you get really comfortable with an oracle deck, then you have the strength to go and dive deep into tarot and not let it scare you.
Hmm. I love that. And I also love that you're also mentioned a little bit how it might be different from, the way you're taught and the way someone else is taught,
Yes.
because sometimes we interpret the things a little bit different. At least that's one of the things that I've noticed when I do card readings or oracle
Hmm.
readings, because I don't use the tarot per se. I use oracle cards, and
Yep.
when I use them, you know, I again, I think probably like you do, you're constantly connected to spirit and, waiting for their input as well. And I sometimes feel that the same card on different weeks, they might give me a little bit of a different information that wants to, work through there.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, make sure that you can explain the allegory in the card to your clients, because that way they won't be nearly as scared. I'm looking up a couple of things. Number one, the tower card, doom, gloom, and destruction. People see that and they panic. I say, no, I want you to think of it like the imploding sports stadium. Okay. Yankees want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up the old one first and clear the ground. So when people realize there's going to be big change and you have to clear the ground so you're ready to build new, it's less scary.
Yeah.
When I show them the 9 of Cups, everyone knows that's the wishes fulfilled card. But I also remind them that it has a second meaning. Be careful what you wish for, because you're going to get it. And for a card that has different meanings, this is my deck's version of the 3 of Pentacles, which normally has a stained glass window in a church and somebody working on it. And it means long-term, mastery, whatever. But there was a couple that I was reading in Canada, and I pulled that card, and what came out of my mouth was, there's an abandoned or deconsecrated church within a couple of miles from here, and I think you're supposed to open up a cafe bakery. And they looked at each other and they looked at me and said, oh yeah, we know which one. We've been arguing about that for 2 years. They hadn't said anything to me, but that was spirit going, tell them this.
Yeah.
So I did.
Oh my God.
That's why you can't just say, this is what the meaning is, because if that's all it was, anybody could read instead of partnering with the cards and your client.
And it's incredible. I mean, if you feel the calling, I think I'm sad. It's sad that it's not part of her way, but my sister has this beautiful talent, I would say, because one of her spirit guides is a gypsy. And because I remember that I went to Madrid some years ago, and I found the tarot museum where you can actually buy tarot.
Yes.
And I bought this gypsy tarot, and I did, I felt I was like drawn to those cards, and I'm like, this is for my sister. I'm taking this for her. So I brought them to her, and then once I got them to her, she opens it up and she goes like, there's no booklet. How am I going to read them? And I'm like, I don't know. So she was like, okay. So she just, she focused, she concentrated, she did her thing, got connected, and then she does readings with those cards that is like, and she has no clue. I mean, she's just like, this is, the gypsy's talking.
And that's probably absolutely correct.
Yeah. It's incredible. What would you, because you already said everybody has intuition if you, tap into, like, what would you say will be like the very first thing that you should, like look into or open up to find your intuition?
Kids, you need to go to boot camp. Ground, center, and shield. Why? Because when you're going to play upstairs and you don't know that area, you're going to attract stupid things. So the book that I started with myself 30 years ago, and the one I recommend is backwards, but Opening to Channel by Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. How to Connect with Your Guides. It is a great book. It's very 1, 2, 3. It keeps you safe. Once you say to the universe, okay, you're handing me my draft notice, I'm good. It goes looking inside you to see what you're good at. Me, I was a theater major at Brown University. I acted in New York, so I know character arts. I love cards. I love telling stories. That's why the cards are a tool for me. And I've loved history since I was a little child. That's why I'm a past life specialist. But notice, I have no artistic talent. Don't ask me to draw spirit art. Can't draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a loud prayer. One of the mistakes people make is they think they have to know everything right. No, specialize. That's like a major in college. You take a little bit of everything, but then you're a major in physics. And you're a physicist. Doesn't mean you should have learned art history, but this is where you love. This is what you want to work on.
Yes, and like you said, follow what you love, because I feel that's also one of the things, and that's why I was asking, because for empaths, they feel so many things sometimes, from their surroundings, and it's so hard for them to pinpoint, is it me, is it my intuition, is this truly myself, or is it, am I right now being too much overwhelmed by everybody else's energy? So what,
Yes. Yes.
how can I connect to my own essence more? Because the more we
Mhm.
connect to ourselves, the better we become as a channels as well.
Exactly. Exactly right.
And because you also, that's one of the things that I think that you mentioned at the beginning, to let go of your ego when you're doing readings. That's also, yeah, let's go into that, because I feel, at least that's one of the things that I try to teach all of my empaths. And one of the reasons why, me being an empath, I don't want to impose or say that I know how someone else is feeling, because I know there could be, at least, there still could be my own filter running through there, my own, or like you said, the ego that is trying to interpret something onto someone else, or maybe even
Mhm.
projecting something onto someone else.
Yes. Yeah. Um, when your ego's in the way, sometimes it will block information. For instance, I don't do mediumship in a gallery setting because I never censor what I get. There was a biracial same gender couple. The black partner had died. Her white widow wanted to speak to her. Now, those of you that can see this little face, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, about as ordinary American as you get. Okay. Nice Jewish kid growing up. But what came out of my mouth was flawless urban ebonics in language you just did not use in public. And I went, oh, but the woman in front of me started laughing and nodding, because those two sentences are how her partner walked into the house and greeted her after every business trip. Now, if my ego had been worried, I would have fudged the message or not even given it, and this woman would not have had what she needed. Second instance, and this is why, just accept that you're 85% accurate. Don't worry about 100% and just put it out there. Um, I read a woman in Kitchener, Ontario, saw a couple of things for her. Challenging. She gets up and she says, "You suck." She walks away. Okay. Next time I was in Kitchener, she was the first person in my chair. She said, "Last time I said you sucked." I said, "Yes, I remember." Because then you told me that I was going to take in a boarder and then I was going to sell my house. And I thought that was bull. But my daughter got pregnant and moved home. And now I'm going to sell my house to help raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger, guys. Get a clue. You see, those are the kinds of things that if they happen to you right away, you'll just say, "Oh, I'm not supposed to read." Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. The only one 100% accurate is God, and he's not doing phone readings or psychic fairs this week. Okay? It's all up to you.
Yeah. And and sometimes, I don't know, maybe if you've dealt with that too, but sometimes, you pass on the message that you're receiving, and the other end just, goes into complete resistance, like this lady did, and that's it.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
you don't you were lucky, or not lucky, but she came back and told you.
Yeah.
But you probably also have had, situations where you did whatever you had to do. You knew, it happens, and or whatever, the information just
And
passed
you
on.
just have to trust it.
Exactly.
That's part of the game, you
Exactly.
know?
Try.
But you also have to respect yourself
Mm.
and don't get pushed. Um, one of the things that people who work in this field have to accept is there are a lot of people who don't see us as human. We are a service, like ordering a burger or a latte or a car wash.
Yeah.
I have had people come up to me, stand in front of my booth, and say, "I don't know, tell me something you couldn't know about me. And if you're right, I'll have a reading." And I look at them and I smile and I say, "I'm sorry. I don't roll over and fetch either." And I turn my back and they do not get a reading. There was a guy, 15 minutes trying to get down a sandwich. I had a small break. And a guy leans over the table, pokes my sandwich with his finger, and says, "You don't need to be eating right now. My wife wants a reading." Needless to say, he did not get one. My front person slid right in front and got him away from the table. When that happens, it doesn't mean you're awful. It means people are cruel and rude and selfish.
Mm.
Do I wish everybody wasn't? Of course. And you will find lots and lots of clients who adore you and are grateful for your help. But when you run into those every once in a while, you just look at them and say, thank you for sharing. You may think that if you wish, and you go on to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
People think working in this field means everybody is love, glitter, and unicorn farts. And no, darlings, it's not. It's a
No.
business and you're dealing with people.
Exactly. And I love that you're mentioning this as well, because, once we start, in any kind of field, when we have people, um, when we deal with people in general, it's just, the question is, am I going to focus on the three ones that are, my negatives, or am I going to focus on the 99,000 others that have been,
That's right.
amazing with me? And it's like, where do I focus my energy?
You have to. You have to. You know, I've written 3 books. The last one I wrote is called You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? And it's everything I learned from being 18 years on the road, doing these fairs 45 weekends a year. My nickname was the Travel Channel. But the funny thing was, the universe wanted me off the road and at home. And I kept arguing, no, it's too much fun on the road. I love being a Hilton Diamond, So finally, what happened is summer of 19, herniated disc and pinched nerve. Trust me, it makes having triplets feel like a tea party. After a few months, they got me back in shape. Some permanent damage, but I operate. Yet they said, look, we're sorry, but your career is over. You can no longer be 10 hours in the car one way, and you can't load in and load out. So that was November. And for the next 3 or 4 months, I scrambled to get my business completely online and wrote You've Got the Magic to at least pass on what I knew. What happened in March of 2020, but the beginning of the years of Murder Hornet Bingo and Hold My Beer. Okay. If I had still been on the road and that was my whole business, I would have tanked. My business is as good as it ever was, better. I love just staying home. I'll do a show that's an hour away, maybe, sure. But I'm no longer traveling coast to coast and into Canada. That's for the youngsters. And that's why I wrote the book, so they wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. Everything I know is in that book for them.
I love that, and I love how you sharing all those things, because that's also one of the things that I loved with from my shamanic teacher and all the teachers in general that we have, because you pass your information to us, and then or maybe I share my information also, and then the next generation can create something of their own. But like you said, you don't have to reinvent yourself. Use
Not
this,
at all.
take this, it's a base, and then you can build
Mhm.
on top of that whatever wants to come up.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Exactly. No one's going to be like me. I have a certain way. Perfect example. I used to share a booth in Canada with my good friend Debbie Dyer. Debbie is about 6 feet tall, hair like mine, but all brilliant white. And she is that genial grandmother who has the iron fist and the velvet glove. She's very kind. She's very sweet. Me, I'm from New York. I'm going to make you laugh, but I'm going to hit you upside the head with a glue brick. Now, both of us are wonderful readers, but it's like a doctor. It's bedside manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why there's room for all of you. Don't try to be like another reader. Be you. Be
Yeah.
you.
Beautiful. One more thing that came up for me,
Mhm.
also in everything, because you were saying that the way we work, it's a business, and
It is.
we're a service that we're offering. But one of the
Mhm.
things that I've noticed, and maybe it's similar for you too, that there's only so much that we can do. So we can guide you and hold your space, but there are so many steps that the other side has to do for
That's
themselves.
right. That's
And
right.
as long
We
as
hand you the toolbox. We're not the repairman. That's the key.
Right, exactly. Because I feel that sometimes there's still this belief that you go to someone like that and they're gonna make everything go away. That's one of the things why I changed my way of working as well. Because when I was fully practicing my shaman, my shamanic practices,
Mhm.
I would have clients come up and say, "Okay, now you're gonna change my life, or you're gonna make this go away, or you're gonna." but it's not. I'm not. I'm only there to, help you and support you on your own path. I'm giving you the tools, but you have to build it. It's sort of like IKEA.
Yes, and when they think like that, that puts them in danger from the fake gypsies.
Yeah.
What's a fake gypsy? They put on the long skirt and the jingling jewelry, and they do the headscarf and they do the bad accent. Oh, you have a family cups. How many in your family? 4? You have dog? $50 every family member. 25 for a dog. He's small. We fix. And then they string you along and they say that you're going to have a terrible curse on you if you don't pay them $6,000. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
You are in charge of your own life, kids. Our job is to say, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll. It is why I don't do yes or no questions with my clients. If someone came to me and said, I'm opening up a new crystal shop, is it going to be successful? I would look at them and say, and what if I said no, and you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? Wrong question. Always ask, how can I be empowered? How do I make it work? And I have an entrepreneur's spread. It's not 3 cards, wait until January and fire the redhead. It's a card for them, a card for any of their partners, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location where they're going to do it, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what they need to know, and best possible outcome. Now, with all of that juicy information, they're in charge of their own lives, but they know better how to avoid some of the pitfalls. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Give them something to hold on to and something to walk around.
Yes, yes. I don't mind handing them the tools, but I'm not going to build for them.
Yeah, and that's so important to know because actually that's self-empowerment. It's actually beautiful for, for everybody to know, okay, you're giving me something that I can work with, but I'm going to be the one doing it. So whenever I have something, I managed to do something wonderful, I know I did it because I did it. I walked the steps.
That kind of brings up my first book, which was a self-help book. The problem with that was there are so many people who they think that the self-help book is going to totally fix things for them.
Yeah.
And they lose themselves. I remember my first book when I was 13, and I remember the paragraph to this day. Judy has a groovy wardrobe. Right? This was 1968. Her makeup is fab and her hair is far out. But nobody likes Judy because Judy's fat. Right in that one paragraph, hundreds of thousands of teenage girls in America were told, you are worthless unless you're thin. And that's why we got so screwed up. When I was doing my research for my book, there was one that said, well, you mustn't eat food with leptin and you have to get up an hour early to do yoga every morning. You're a single mom with 2 preschool kids and a job in Milwaukee. You're not going to do that. Does that mean you're never going to have self-help? No. So my whole book is, here's some of the dumb things I did. Here's a client story. And here's some things to think about. But then I give you the adventure pages. And in the adventure pages, you have to come up with your own answers. You can't just turn to page 82. The chapter that I love as an example, but I need my glasses. Excuse me. It's called How Perfect Destroys Good. Where do you beat yourself up most often and why? Reimagine one of those times with the idea that good can triumph over perfect. What does it look like now? How would your life change if you stopped thinking perfection was the only correct response to a project or a situation? See, answer's not on page 82. You find out that you can learn from your own life. You can make changes. And when you are in charge of your own changes, all possibilities are open to you as well. My whole thing is to empower people, not to say, oh, I'm so fabulous, my aura don't stink, because that bores me.
I'm sorry that I'm laughing, but I love this so much. And I resonate with you so much because this is how I was, my shamanic teacher was like that. I am this way with my clients, and I want to be forward for this. It's not me who's doing the work, it's you. And I want you to have the tools. And like you said, I love that you just mentioned this. Thank you so much, because this is one of the things that I love also to for everybody to hear. If you are a person that likes getting up early and do yoga in the morning and do your gratitude journals in the morning and get everything done before 6 in the morning, do it. But if you're not, don't feel stressed. You don't have to. There are so many ways.
Mhm.
Like for me, for starters, when you think about meditation and connecting yourself with spirit guides, um, there are so many different ways of connecting to them. I
Mhm.
have my best conversations with them under the shower, when I'm driving the car, when I'm walking. There are so many ways. We don't have to have, because it feels like new dogmas, like we're leaving old dogmas to just walk into the next one.
Mhm.
Because now my coach or
Yeah.
my teacher is telling me I have to do this for 5 days a week or 7 days a week. And
No, no, no. And you want me to try and meditate first thing in the morning? I'm sorry. I have a 22-pound Maine Coon. The minute I open my eye is right here going, Mom, breakfast. So it's not going to happen. But there are certain ways you shouldn't connect until you know how to ground, center, and shield. And one of my big hot buttons is Ouija boards. When you play with a Ouija board, when you don't know how to ground, center, and shield, it's like throwing open your door in a strange neighborhood and yelling free beer. You do not know who's out there, but they heard you and they're coming. And yes, there are people like Jane Roberts with Seth that got um, Seth through a Ouija board, but I have had to handle two gibbering, hysterical teenagers who, when they put their hands on the planchette with no guard and said, "Who's there?" What was spelled backwards very fast was, "I have an axe and I'm here to kill you." Trust me, it wasn't their uncle, Danny. And for everybody who says, "Oh, it's in the child's department, how dangerous could it be?" Because I get that a lot. When I lecture at fairs and expos, I say, "Okay, who here has a kid or grandkid under 3 or under 10? Hands go up. Okay, you. What's kid's name? Joshy. How old is Joshy? Joshy's 8. Okay. Joshy comes to you and says, Grandma, I just got all A's on my report card. You said I could go get a toy. Let's go." And he drags you to the toy department in front of a box that says, "My first chainsaw." It's in the toy department. Going to let him play with it by himself? I don't think so. Use sense. Really.
Yeah. Oh. I love that you're mentioning this, because I'm actually one of those that actually drew up. I drew with my cousin at 16. We drew our own Ouija board and tried to do it. But I'm grateful, and this is and now I know. Back then I didn't know, but now I know that I
Mhm.
have this certain protection out there that was in what was already in in space there,
Yes. Yes.
making for both of us going like, oh, I don't know what the deal with this Ouija board is.
And I don't know if one of the humorous memes. There are now big Ouija board rugs, and people put their Roombas on it and let it. Yeah, it's like no, 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 not in this house, not happening.
Oh my, that's actually
Especially if
hilarious.
your cat is riding the Roomba, you're getting Satan in the cat. You don't want that. Um, People find more ways of being dumb. I swear.
Oh yeah, a little bit, but yeah, yeah. So be a little bit careful with spirit, talking to
Please,
spirits, and yeah, no, and
we
I
need
always
you
think,
around.
yeah, and I think the most important thing is, if you don't know, go and learn. If you're interested, go and learn from someone that can teach you how to connect properly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
it's not to scare people, but they're, like you said, like you, I have seen, people just, have very bad experiences with this, and
Hmm.
it's best to really know how to deal with it.
It
And
is.
the best
But
thing you can do is by learning. Yeah.
where you're going is really important because this is my fourth book, which I'm just starting, and I need to put out the call. If any of your viewers either are or know Gen Zs or Gen Alphas, I need them. My next book is going to be called Elder and Apprentice because how to be an elder has changed because the world has changed.
Yeah.
One of the problems with boomers, we had the great cars, the great clothes, the great music, and why can't the kids? Well, face it, when we were their age, we didn't worry about being killed in school. We
Yeah.
didn't worry about the world being uninhabitable in our lifetime. We were pretty sure we could get a job, a house,
Yeah.
have a family. We never worried about being shot because of who we loved, who we voted for, if we believed in science, if we got a vaccine. The world is more dangerous now than I think it has ever been in human lifetimes. So what we learned is not always going to be right for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. We need to learn to teach them differently.
Yeah.
We need to learn to listen to them differently.
Yeah.
And that's why this book is going to be so important. It's how to bring the next generation up in the 21st century, how to be what they need. And that's why I need to talk to people 25 and under who are starting to walk the spirituality path.
Yeah.
You need to tell me what you need, what people do that drives you crazy, what old learning is no longer of any value to you,
Yes.
so that together we can get this next book written and make it easier for the ones to come.
Mm. You just hit a spot there, because that's one of the things that I've been feeling so much from the spiritual side, that there has been, like I just mentioned, so many dogmatic stuff, or
Hmm.
like especially hierarchy, so much hierarchy, from elders, and not being disrespectful to elders. I love the teachers that I had, but I feel that when I think about the paradigms where I was brought up spiritually,
Hmm.
that for early on, from the beginning, for me, I felt like there's something, I don't know, but something's wrong with this. It doesn't feel right, but I have to do it because my teacher's saying, or they are saying, and I feel that our time is shifting, is changing in such a strong way. And I love that
Yes.
you are working on supporting, and I want to support this too, support the kids and the young ones that are coming now, because they are the ones that are going to hold the space for the big transformation that we're going through right now. And the
Yes.
best thing that we can do is not try to bring them into our paradigms, or our things that we think,
We
the
must
boxes.
fit into theirs.
Exactly. Exactly. Hmm. Yes. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh my God, this is so important. So everybody out there, if you have anyone 25 and under, we're going to put all the links of Corby in the show notes, so you can, connect with her. Also, if you resonated with her, how do you, like, if someone says, "Oh my God, I want a reading," how do I get that?
Oh, May, they can't avoid me. They really can't. Number one, there's my website, CorbyMitleid.com. You'll find me on Facebook, Corby Mitleid Psychic at Fire Through Spirit. You'll find me on Instagram, YouTube, Medium.com, Patreon. Um, all of it is Corby Mitleid, and
Nice.
I absolutely welcome. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I teach through Patreon. We meet once a month. And it's not just me. I bring in some wonderful teachers. We've had crystal masters, animal communicators, astrologers,
Mm,
numerologists, certified tarot masters. The more I can give my students, because it's
yeah,
not about my ego, it's about giving to them,
yeah.
happier I am. And you're
Oh,
always welcome.
beautiful. So I'm gonna put all the links in the show notes for you guys to find, so that for everybody to find. I have to see, that's one thing that I'm trying to unlearn, to always say "you guys," because that's something that I learned when I was learning English. For everybody, I
Well,
want
you can
everybody to
always
be
use
included.
y'all, all
Y'all.
y'all. That's what but y'all is singular, all y'all is plural. My mother was from Tidewater, Virginia, so I learned that early.
All right, so all y'all. Thank you. So I'm gonna try to practice that now. Corby, one last thing. Like, do you have one last?
Yes,
I mean, you had so many beautiful messages, but like one last one for everybody, whatever wants to come up right now.
absolutely. There are three questions, the most important questions you can ever ask yourself when you're stuck. What am I X about? X is always the emotion. What am I afraid of? What am I angry about? What am I depressed about? Second question is, why am I X about that? And the question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? It's called stimulus belief response, and it allows you to change in the moment. You're the one that gives you permission to change, guys. Nobody else. See, guys, y'all, all y'all.
Y'all, all y'all. Thank you so much. This was so beautiful, and I really love
It was
everything.
fun.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you to everybody listening or watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I really did. And it's incredible. And I hope for everybody, if you're interested, all the links are below in the show notes or in the description. I'm going to enjoy this now. Thank you so much for everybody.
You're welcome.
And as always, surf your energy wave. Bye.